All right, everybody. Welcome back to the DeFi Dave pod. I'm your host, DeFi Dave. This is sponsored by Cap. Shout out Cap. If this is your first time here, make sure you go ahead, like, repost, subscribe, follow. Wherever you are, come sign up, follow your boy and our friends. And today we have on, once again, Quasimatt, and we have on Macy for the first time. What's good, guys? Woo!
Everything's
Hooray!
good.
Everything's
Hooray.
good. Everything's electric.
Yeah.
We're
Electric.
in NoDi.
Yes.
We're creating media. What more could you ask for?
Yes, everything is electric, and we were just having a great conversation with Macy about art and self-actualization, and I wanted to go back to that conversation. So, the pursuit of art for self-actualization. Macy,
Yes.
so that is your motivation. You want to self-actualize yourself. It isn't just about clout.
No, I think the clout conversation and the art conversation are two completely different goals. Essentially, the art is like a reason, or it's almost like Macy does art. It's like an easy thing to be like, oh, like that's what she does, like that's her thing, kind of a thing. But I don't want clout from my artwork because my artwork is a personal practice that's 100 years timeline necessarily, that I'm not really interested in creating the first 10 years of my art career to be the most electric. I'd rather have it be the last 50 years of my art career. So I'm kind of just in creation mode for perpetually.
Yeah. You know who that reminds me of? That reminds me of this author, Francesco Pessoa, who was an author. He was from Portugal. He did I think he was a mailman. He was a bureaucrat. He was kind of like the Portuguese Kafka in a way. And he didn't share any of his writings. He would just write privately. And when he died, he just had a treasure chest full of writings that were discovered. And he kind of knew that his writing wasn't meant for his time. But when they were discovered, they became published, and people still read them to this day. And he was the original poster. I wonder if Quasi, did I mention him on our last podcast? I might have, or I don't know if
I'm
I
not
did.
sure. The
I
name
definitely-
doesn't sound familiar to me, but definitely the concept does of people artists creating for the intention of it being consumed posthumously.
And
Yeah.
I like to call him the first shit poster, first guy with an alt, because in his poems and in all of his writings, he would have multiple personalities and constantly contradict each other.
Awesome.
So, but
Very,
I feel like
very
it's a
schizo.
cool way to create I share a lot of the stuff I make, but I don't I do find it really interesting people that don't share anything. If you do that forever and ever and ever, you could probably make some really twisted stuff, and it would be really interesting to see.
yeah, I wonder who's doing that now. I mean, we wouldn't know, but I feel like now everything's just so personality driven, clout driven, that people don't even think about what is going to last beyond me when I pass? What work do I want to stand? What is my legacy?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
interesting to not have an external feedback loop too. People who just, if you just write about your own thing, this is a writer going to a cabin in the woods and just doing their own thing for a really long time. I'm sure you arrive at different ideas than if you were to check yourself against other people.
Yeah, is there anybody?
I just did this.
Yeah.
I just did this at the Mexican restaurant. It was someone's what do you draw on your iPad, and just squiggled a tiny little balloon that was stupid. And I was watch, I'm gonna post this, and it's gonna get so much more love than anything else, because it's highly consumable in a content way rather than a I'm making art way. And sure enough, so many people were this is amazing, it's so cute, it's so awesome. And that's the perfect example of creating for clout is a completely different game than creating for oh, I want to know what happens when I sit down for an hour every day and draw. It's if that's always about clout, I would be making content. And
Yeah.
I would be drawing tiny little balloons and, probably.
It seems like clout is for the lowest common denominator. Is that true?
That's a quasi question.
Oh, well, I think we have dramatically different answers to that. I think we have completely opposite approaches to clout. Because for me, I'm clout is almost itself an art form. Art and clout are one in the same almost. But I kind of split art into two different things. I think institutional or intellectual art is about its own story and its narrative and is almost defined by its social context. So gallery art, you often find people talking about, oh, this artist was in this milieu or this scene or whatever, and they share ideas with these people and they were affiliated with this institution. So that's like one thing, that's like clout art. And then there's like a maybe like more Macy adjacent, like pure art that's like, okay, I'm literally just expressing myself. Like I see music this way. Like, okay, like if I am just sitting in my room making a song, it's like that's just about what I have to say and what I think sounds good. It's not really about this like social game. But I think both are interesting. Like I love the clout game. I think it's like fun and entertaining, and I think people like have a lot of fun with it. And I also can appreciate art that has like nothing to do with clout.
Yeah, Macy, what do you think?
No, I completely agree. I think like personally I separate the two. So like clout for me is like business. Like I want to like get, or like I have like a very business like driven mind. It's just like I don't like using that on my artwork necessarily. So it's not like I'm like not like going out and being like a freaking lion about like random shit. I just like prefer not to do that about my art practice, which I think creates like a really interesting, I mean it does like it's interesting to observe people that do like career artism and like how they kind of like go about it. And I admire that, but it's just not something that I'm like necessarily as interested in.
Yeah, no, I feel that. So 3 months ago, Matt, that's when we had our first interview, and I feel like that interview was really prophetic. So much as like a lot of things that you said came true in a sense. Like for example, you said something along the lines like speech isn't declarative, it's experimental. You just say shit to see like what reaction you'll get, and I feel like a lot of this has to do with the micro neighborhood trend that we've been seeing, and I think you've been credited with starting NoDi. Even before that, you're doing Flatiron and trying to make Flatiron and thing, but then it was like, all right, Flatiron exists, let's go to NoDi. And then that just blew up, especially around the time of the New York Knicks. Can you like, you know, talk about like the motivation, like where did this like motivation to experiment with micro neighborhoods came from, and like what are your thoughts on the reaction to it, especially from native New Yorkers?
Yeah, so I'll start like all the way at the beginning, which is actually May of last year. So like
May of last year, yeah.
Yeah. So the first time I ever talked about NoDi was in May of 2025, and this is like what was happening is I was sitting in my apartment. I was like, I don't like, which I'm still in this apartment. I was sitting in here, and I was going, I don't like my apartment, but I like my neighborhood, and I want to move. And I was thinking like, where do I want to move? Well, like I like my neighborhood, but which parts do I like? And I drew a rectangle around 6 blocks of the Lower East Side that I really liked and that I wanted to live in, and that was just for me. Like, that was just like, okay, I'm going to go on Street Easy and like see what listings are here and whatever. But then I was like, this could be lore. So I posted the image on Twitter in May, and I said like, hey guys, this is NoDi. And I did this like dramatic thing where I was kind of trying to sell it. Like I was like, this is the best neighborhood in New York. Like it has this, this, and this. And 10 years from now, or 2 years from now, it will 10x in value. Or I said something like future forward looking.
Yeah.
And then like part of the reason that I do that is I've done this thing that I call local posting for a really long time, like even pre-New York or when I was living in Bushwick or whatever. And the reason that I do it is because I want to find people in my neighborhood that I can like be friends with. And so actually, like the reason that Macy and I are friends is because we're neighbors, and she found me from that NoDi tweet. So like we met like basically a year ago now because Macy like responded to my first NoDi tweet. And then now more recently, like NoDi has entered you know, a larger like New York consciousness. Yeah, because on Hester Street, which is in NoDi, during the Knicks games, like A$AP Rocky came and watched the game like outside where there was this watch party, and my friend Cheryl made a tweet where he was in it, and she said NoDi in this like factual way where it like wasn't a joke. Like she was just like saying, hey, we're in NoDi. And a lot of people saw that tweet because it had A$AP Rocky, and because she said NoDi, and people were like, what does that even mean, and what are you talking about? And it's great because I love that NoDi is a term that people are using, because I think it genuinely refers to a part of the Lower East Side that has a distinct vibe. Like I think that NoDi is a distinct.
What is the vibe of NoDi, and how is it different from other neighborhoods, micro neighborhoods?
Yeah, so this requires like you really have to start partitioning LES, but there's LES north of Delancey Street is like going out partying. South of Delancey Street is a little bit more like conducive to everyday life. Like there are bars and restaurants, but it's not necessarily about that. Like if you meet someone that lives in another neighborhood and they say they're going out in LES, they usually mean, if it's a young person, usually mean that they're going to what we call NoDel, so like north of Delancey. Lodell is a little bit more livable, and I think like NoDi in specific is like one of the calmest areas and like one of the most dynamic areas, in the sense that like when I go walk and get my coffee at 9 a.m., it feels like some residential neighborhood of Brooklyn, and like only the locals are around. But then by evening on like Thursday or Friday or Saturday, it's like freaking electric, and there's like people all over in the streets, and like people are like here to do stuff. And so that like duality of it like flipping is just so much more dramatic than anywhere else. It has like proximity to good train lines, like it has good restaurants. It's like, it's right next to Dime Square. I think like the open streets are relevant. Like when they close off Canal Street, they close off Orchard Street, and like people just spill into the street. It makes
especially
feel kind of,
Orchard
like,
Street.
European.
Yeah. So that's really interesting you mentioned that. I didn't even think about that. Like during the day, in the morning, when it's just people that live in NoDi, it's just the locals. It's, you're getting your coffee, people are walking, people are going to work, people are outside. And then at night,
everyone's going to work.
Or maybe not going to work.
Yeah, it's a very unemployed neighborhood. No one here has like a normal job, but yeah.
Unemployed. They're working from home. They're doing they're hustling. They're doing like whatever hustles they need to do to live in NoDi. But then at night, everyone descends upon NoDi, whether they live in South Brooklyn, like maybe like Dumbo, Carroll Gardens kind of area. Maybe they like come in from Williamsburg, Bushwick. Maybe they come in from like Upper Manhattan or wherever. They descend upon NoDi and becomes like a very dynamic nightlife. And we saw that during the Knicks when everyone was watching on Hester Street, which was absolutely electric. I'm happy I ended up catching that. Yeah. And what was fascinating about being there was everybody had the Shake app. And I remember at one point I did like a shake, and it was a massive shake. And people are like, wait, are you in NoDi? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm also on Hester Street. And I would meet up with people from that watch party because of the Shake app. And I feel like NoDi and the Shake app go hand in hand because everyone, and I'm curious, what are your thoughts about NoDi being a growth catalyst for the Shake app, and also just talk about the Shake app a bit more, because I remember downloading it 3 months ago when you first created it, and then it really took off because of NoDi and because of everything that was going around with the Knicks.
Yeah, so I can start at the beginning with that too. The Shake app I first created in April, and it was really an extension of another project that I was doing, which was just my blog. Like the original OG version of Quasimatt.com was just a social blog. So I was recording basically everyone that I interacted with, and then I created a social graph out of it in order to just kind of render my social life more navigable or identify trends and stuff like that. And I got to a point where it was really difficult to record everything because I would be doing a bunch of stuff, and then I would be at a party going into the corner to type on my phone who I had talked to so I could write about it later. And I was like, okay, this is annoying. I need to create a way for other people to kind of record this information for me. And this is I was familiar enough with vibe coding that I could now feasibly make an app, which was not an option previously. And so I took a stab at just making an app where the product was a social graph. So the idea of the Shake app is that when you're with someone, you can use Bluetooth on your phone, and if you both open the app and shake your phones at the same time, then you'll be connected on the Shake app. So it's a way of recording in real life connections. Mm-hmm. And it grows primarily at events. So the watch party was a good one. The first big night for Shake was actually the AI Psychosis Summit. So any event that I'm at, that my crew is at, we'll see a lot of downloads for the Shake app because that's just where people are excited about it. Mm-hmm. I think the app itself benefits from social density. If you're surrounded by 8 people who are shaking their phones together, you're going to be what are you doing? I want to join in. And so the Knicks games were a good example. But yeah, there have been lots of different electric events where people are using the Shake app, and it's been really fun to see it grow because I want it makes a social graph, which is my obsession. Is I always want social life to be rendered easy to understand, I guess. So I'm happy with it.
It must be crazy to see people use the Shake app and you're not there, and it's decentralizing itself. It's oh wow, it's actually growing beyond me.
Yeah, it is really cool. When I look at the leaderboard and I see that other people are also active, because it keeps track of how many shakes there are and how many people you've met and stuff like that. It is really cool to see it grow beyond me, and I'm happy to see that other people are also interested in this type of data visualization and this way of tracking socializing, because it's not necessarily I didn't really know that other people would be willing to put in the effort to architect this thing, because previously I was architecting it myself on my blog. So it is cool there's users in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
there's users. Yeah, there's like a little squad of people that use it in at Columbia University, and then more recently we had our first shake on a private jet, so it's just like kind of all over the place now.
Whoa there, on a private jet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Macy, I want to go to you and get your perspective about NoDi and the Shake app. Like, from your perspective, like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on NoDi as someone that has like seen it grow from like, you know, something used between friends to breaking escape velocity?
Well, I quite like it because I feel like, like, to a certain degree, I'm treating this lease as like an asset of some sorts.
A lease as an
And
asset? What do you
so-
mean by that?
Or just like, I mean, like, highly, admired real estate, and the more NoDi blows up, the more that is like the case. One second.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're inflating the value of our apartment.
Yeah, exactly. And
I
like,
hope you guys
and so
are
that
rent
was quite
stabilized.
fun.
Yeah, we are.
Well,
That's why it works.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think it's quite funny how everything happened too, because when I first moved to the neighborhood, like, I kind of forgot about Dime Square, and so I like thought I was moving to Chinatown, and it wasn't until like I like started walking around, I was like, oh, whoa, this is like not Chinatown. Like, this is like a completely different vibe than like even the like Updell or you know what I mean, like all these other micro
How
neighborhoods.
would you describe the
So-
vibe?
I mean, like, I would say, like, the second I saw Matt's tweet, I was, like, dying laughing, first of all, because of how he wrote it. It was, like, so hilarious to me. But then also, like, he clocked the vibe, like, essentially, like, exactly how I saw it as well. And so, like, that's what prompted, I think I messaged him. I was like, yo, if you live there, like, I live right next to you, kind of a thing. And so I think, like, I don't know, I find, like, NoDi as, like, a interesting, like, almost like inside joke between like Twitterverse, which is like almost like made people, like, it's given people a reason to like go out and NoDi like the Twitter universe, I guess, which is like quite interesting to me, because there's definitely a benefit to like local posting, and you see it because I mean you even see it like on the Shake Up, like I'm shaking with 10 people per night versus just a 2, maybe like 2 months ago it used to be whoever was around. Now it's like people are coming to NoDi to shake because they know people are there because of the Shake app. So I find it to be really
They're coming to NoDi to shake.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah,
They leave
it's-
shook.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. I think I love the Shake Up, and I've been inspired in ways like I have like other daily practices that I'm like, oh, it's like interesting. I want to be able to like reference the data like of like who I hung out with that day, with like what workout I did and or what I drew and like all this stuff. And so it's like almost added another data point to like this like data set
Yeah.
I was working on that I like didn't even know that I was interested in. So I love the Shake App, and I love
When you said that, you just reminded me of Be Real. When like
Yeah.
back when that was a thing, and you were just take a picture of like whatever you were doing that day, and it is a data point that you can reference. Like, oh, like where
Yeah.
was I that day? How was I feeling? What was I doing?
Yeah, what did I do? Like literally.
Yeah. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on the reaction to NoDi, because you really see the strong negative reaction from native New Yorkers. Maybe some transplants, but definitely like native New Yorkers. Like, what's NoDi? What are these transplants doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on this other and their passionate reaction, which is even making NoDi more of a thing, because there's an other kind of like making it real.
Yeah, I think I have some sympathy definitely for like people who don't like it, because it's like if you connect with an area and it's getting, I think it's like the name changing is a symbol of the vibe changing. Like it means more that like people like me and like Macy are coming here than it does that we're renaming it. I think that's just an easy way of like understanding the phenomenon that's like sort of gentrification adjacent. So like I get it why people don't like that, but then on the other hand, it's like people are saying, oh, that's actually LES, or that's actually Chinatown. And I'm like, yes, it is, totally. But it's also NoDi. Like, me and my friends are going to call it NoDi, and, like, that's fine because we want a way to refer to this, like, little block. That doesn't mean that you have to do it, that, like, we're not imposing anything on you. It's just a term that's useful to us that we're using. And so, like, I guess in a way I don't really understand the anger, because it's like, if you don't like it, then just don't do it. Mm-hmm. Like, don't use the term. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Macy, what do you think?
I think like there's like fun on both sides of the conversation, because it is so stupid that it's like, oh, we're in NoDi, and like it's like silly and funny, and then at the same time, like it's not actually that crazy to be like fuck NoDi, because it's like all just kind of like a made up thing. And so like I think like it's just like whether or not you're like you know, I know plenty of native New Yorkers who have had a ton of fun with the NoDi bit, and so
Yeah,
it's
same.
Kind of like whatever like side you want to take, like everyone's just kind of acting anyways, unless you're like legitimately mad about it. But like I haven't encountered anyone that was like legitimately like mad about it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
whether-
that seems to be like anonymous internet hate rather than like
Yeah.
actual. Like I've never actually met someone, but yeah, I think like the spirit of a lot of the things that we do, like Macy and I, and like our like larger social group is like we're gonna do a bit that's like frivolous, and like you can think it's dumb or like you can interpret it in any which way, but like what I try to do is like do a bit and invite people to join me and say like, hey, we're gonna have fun with this. Like you're either in or you're out. Like
Yeah.
if you want to contribute to the bit, like we're gonna say hell yeah, and we're gonna like hang out with you, and we're gonna like yes and you. Or if you want to, I guess you can just be like a mad hater, but like we're having fun. Like
Yeah.
we like want you in too. It's not like we're trying to do this like exclusive like this is our language thing. It's like no, we're literally inviting people to participate if they want
Yeah.
to. Like
If anything, the hate against it is a projection of that person.
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I think it's like rooted in like I agree.
Yeah.
So I think some people are just like averse to change, and maybe like
That's fair.
overweighing like how much it means, because that's like what you said in the OG question is like these people who are hating on it are kind of like making it real because they're taking it seriously. Like you have
Yeah.
to take something seriously in order
So
to
to make
hate
it
it, and
real,
so like
yeah.
in a way like they're taking it 50 times more seriously than we are. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of fun little bits, I swear I cannot escape the words "absolutely electric." I've actually had like my normie friends start saying it, and I'm pretty sure you guys were the first to start saying the vibes are absolutely electric. It's a mind virus, so I'm curious. Not only like where did it like what made you start saying that, like, and like what are examples of things that are electric?
I feel like I have the story of how I stole it from Macy, basically, but Macy,
Yeah, how did Macy?
you have like a longer history of electricity.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
I like the canonical beginning would be the first AI Psychosis summit, right?
Yeah.
And like I was kind of trying to like if we're thinking of the same like story, like we were like trying to kind of architect a tweet that would be hilarious, like to play off the AI Psychosis summit bit. And I was like just trying to kind of embody like corporate like summit culture, and so I was like, here we are in the heart of the AI Psychosis summit, and the vibe is nothing short than electric. And like, yeah, I guess like Matt took that and like it like just went crazy after. It was amazing.
You know, when you said like it's I'm trying to like parody a corporate summit. Now I can imagine
Yeah.
some corporate
Yeah.
summit at a hotel outside of like Costa Mesa, California, where people like have to be there. They're like half awake, and it's like some
Their
announcer.
name tags.
Their name tags are
shirt
like
on,
their
yeah.
shitty coffee there, and like some announcer there's like the vibe is absolutely electric here, and
Exactly.
yeah,
Literally.
I don't know what like I don't know where it came from before that, but obviously Matt is the one that popularized it.
Yeah, it's funny because I think that's like a common pattern is like one thing that I really appreciate about Macy is she has like this really unpredictable way of using language and like coming up with new stuff. Like there's always like a novelty to the way that Macy like talks and has ideas, and then I feel like I just kind of get obsessed with something every once in a while. It's like a phrase that she'll say or something, and then I'll just like repeat it into oblivion because that's kind of like my thing is to just like do repetition like in this crazy way. So I feel like I've done that with other things too, where like Macy just says something crazy and then I'm like, oh, I'm obsessed with that, and then I just like say it every sentence for the next 3 weeks basically.
It's funny because
Well,
that's exactly what I do. That's
Yeah.
what I did with Heath Bushwick. My friend Anon, he was the one that started it. He started the Twitter account. I'm like, give me the account right now. Let's run it. And then I just became obsessed with it. And then now people think it's me, but it's really like me, him, and like everybody in the community that made it real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
it's
like really. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like a lot of people think it's on accident, but it was like, like Matt literally tweeted for like probably the past like 4 months the exact same phrase with like the exact same bit. Exactly. So it's like, yes, to a certain degree, like it's like, oh my God, it's so random people are using the phrase, but it's also like you can only see it so many times before you realize like it is electric and you're allowed
I can't
to just
escape
like
it.
that.
They were like, it's absolutely electric here. I'm like, wow. This is like
so funny.
A real mimetic vibe. It is really funny.
Well, so what's interesting to me is like it seems like I'm like not that or like the whole local posting thing is interesting because like I used to local post in Washington like when I was in high school, right? And it's like you kind of become like locally famous if like people just know you from Twitter, then like like you're like I don't know, there's something to speak to, I guess. What I'm finding interesting about like going locally famous, like in New York City, it's like such a hub of culture that like, like I'm seeing these things trickle down to like my friends in Miami or like, you know what I mean? Like people are saying these things in places that are like not New York. And so it's like almost like going locally famous here, like you accidentally like influence like a lot of the culture and like a lot of like the at least like 20 somethings, 30 somethings era online,
I think it just speaks to how New York is the capital of the world and the center of the universe. Like I remember,
Period.
Yeah, I mean, New York is the only city, right? I remember I was in, I was in Brazil in November before DevCon, and I was in like a city, like not even a main city, like a smaller city. And I've been going to the city a lot, and I have like native Brazilian friends there. I was talking to them. And they were keeping track of the New York mayor race. This like random city in the south of Brazil, Florianopolis. They knew like everything about Mondani. They knew everything about Cuomo. They were like rooting for Mondani. And I'm like, if in this random city they care about the mayor race of New York, I can't imagine like everywhere else. It's because New York is the only city, right?
I mean, well, I swear it was like New York was in its flop era, like when you were tweeting about NoDi and like kind of when I moved back, I swear it was like a unpopular opinion to like be in New York. It was like, I don't know if I'm misremembering or like trying to architect this story that like I got in at the bottom, but like it did kind of feel like New York was like in a flop era for a few years there.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't as electric as it is like now. For example, like there's
it's absolutely electric.
Between...
Yeah,
yeah,
probably like post Nigs, post whatever.
Yeah, I mean, before it was COVID, you were like coming off of COVID, and people complaining like, it's not like pre-COVID, and then it took some time to get the city back, the vibes back, and then it was. I think it was really like Mamdani getting elected, and I say that non-politically, but I feel like there was something like after Mamdani, like there was a vibe shift. And then there was like the Knicks winning, and a combination of like those two things, and like everyone, like the camaraderie and the unity of the Knicks, their whole run, and the way they came back, all those games, and the way that it wasn't like there was a superstar player. It was like people that were overlooked, and like the story and the lore behind that, combined with everybody in the city like watching the game outside, going to watch parties, even people that had nothing to do with sports. Like people that were like into like improv or like art, and they're like, the game's on, and like it wasn't really about the sport. It was more about like New York and like everyone being united together. So I'm curious, like, where you guys thought of like the past, like the Knicks run the past month, and like what it says about New York and the city.
I feel like it's allowed me to connect with the East Coast a little bit more. Like I'm from the West Coast, and so like I feel like a lot more home here. I guess like having a team. Like I never like attached myself to like a team, I guess, which like was like a big part of my growing up was like rooting for sports, I guess. So it's like I think it did kind of allow me to feel a bit more native New York to like hang out and like celebrate the Knicks and like be a part of that.
Yeah, I think like the general, like when you said the thing about Mamdani, it made me realize like I think a lot of it is just like populism and tribalism maybe are like kind of trending right now in a certain type of way. Like people view these things as like things that connect them to like all of New York, whereas like normally I feel like you're kind of siloed within your like immediate social group or whatever it may be. And I think like something about the actual word electric is like I remember when I got obsessed with the word electric, I was like, this is something that I think a lot of people want, and that I realized that I wanted, that I just like wasn't thinking on those terms, because electric doesn't just mean like good. It doesn't just mean like, oh, you're having fun. It means like it's like high energy. It's like this transferable thing that like permeates everything. Like there's something about like the concept of electricity that I think is like trending right now somehow.
Yeah. For me, Matt, you know this. Like, I'm a big sucker for LA, and I always like my bit is like romanticizing moving back to LA and like
Right.
that to move back to LA. I have to say, like, you know, during the next run, combined with like other things, but really the next run, like you, Macy, I felt more connected with New York after it. I felt more at home. Like, wow, like I feel much more of a New Yorker. And I say that as like someone that's from New Jersey and grew up around here, but now I feel like more like connected to New York itself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so, you know, the vibes are. And I actually texted this to you guys before the interview. Like, electricity was like invented right outside of here, and electricity was first like used en masse with Thomas Edison. Hell, it's called Con Edison for a reason here in New York. So I think it's very fitting that like you're kind of like using this term and like bringing it back in a new way to describe something else. Not like not just actual electricity, but a feeling, like a high vibrational feeling that everybody has right now.
Yeah, it's like high energy. I think there's an element of like spontaneity to it too. Like you just get a spark of something. Like and New York is so conducive to that because you're always like running into people. Like it feels just like hyper social. Like you're meeting 100 people a day, and like who knows what's gonna come of that. Like it does feel like a specifically like hyper social New York thing.
Yeah, I felt that. Yeah, well, go ahead.
Was this the lack of electricity too has been a whole new emotion where it's like instead of like being like I'm sad or depressed, it's almost like no, I just like kind of lack electricity, which doesn't even really necessarily mean like lacking energy. Like it's this kind of like whole niche that we've like almost like discovered through conversation that like there is like an emotion missing, and it is electricity.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of things that were electric, the AI Psychosis Summit. I remember when you guys were first planning. I mean, I guess you had like a small one before, but then like you were planning the big one. I remember when you guys were talking about like, oh, we're gonna have it. What are we gonna do? That shit blew up. That shit was absolutely electric, and I couldn't escape it. I'm curious. Can you go through the story of like how it went from idea to like, and Mark Andreessen tweeting about it, to like now you guys are planning a new AI Psychosis Summit. Like, walk me through that timeline.
I mean, I think the like, original was like I tweeted a tool that I used, and like our friend Wasam was like, "Oh, I like to make like stupid tools too." Like essentially like no addressable market other than like me who needed the tool. Like I just like vibe coded it or whatever, and then like I think Wasam looped in Matt or something and was like, "Let's do an AI Psychosis Summit," and then the kind of bit was like birthed from there. But Matt, you probably have a more electric way to say it.
No, that was like the actual genesis was like that Twitter exchange, and then I think we basically like somewhere in the comments like you and Macy and Wasam were talking about how they wanted to like learn from each other basically on how to use AI or like get tips, and then I got looped in, and then we talked to Bunny, and then we went to Bunny's apartment and had like the first AI Psychosis Summit, which was literally 4 people, and we just like we were all on our laptops like on the couch, and we shared our screens and just like showed what we were working on and like how we worked on it, and we were like we're talking about tooling, we're talking about like what model should we use, what are we making, what do we want to make, and then Bunny like just I don't know how he came up. He's just like this. Like he's just a genius
just
in
like
this
this
particular way. Is he took a picture of the room, and then AI generated like a bunch of people in there, and then he tweeted like, "Oh my God, thanks everyone for coming to the AI Psychosis Summit." Like that was
fun
so
with
fun.
the people there. That's like that's something a psychosis thing. Let's put people there watching the AI Psychosis Summit.
Yeah, exactly.
It
So he made it
wasn't
look
even,
like there were like 30 people,
Yeah.
and there were 4. Like, and then people in the comments. This is like a very clean example of like the just manifesting something into existence, because then in the comments people were like, "Oh my God, when's the next one? Like, let me know. Like, I really want to go to the AI Psychosis Summit." So then we were just like, okay, well, literally, like, the demand has been generated. Like, now it's time to just actually do it. And so enough people were interested that we just like were like, okay, we're gonna have a real AI Psychosis Summit, and the format was like a trade show is like how I would describe it.
It felt like a science fair. Yeah, I was gonna say science fair to me.
Yeah, like it was important for me to make it such that like it wasn't a person speaking to a room, because the reason you go to an event is to try to connect with someone on an individual basis or a 2-to-1 basis or a 3-to-1 basis or whatever on something that you both care about. And so like having someone work on a project or identifying someone who already has a project and giving them the opportunity to speak one-on-one with lots of people about it is like probably one of the most efficient ways to actually catalyze real connection between people. And so once we had that format kind of locked in, then we went around and found artists. Like we all played a role in like sourcing artists and like practitioners who are making something cool with AI, and then we just put them all in a room basically and did a bunch of memeing on the internet. And then the AI Psychosis was nothing short of electric, really.
Nothing short of electric. How did like Mark Andreessen and like all those people get involved? Did they see it and like reach out to you guys and support?
Yeah, there was like people just knew about it from Twitter, and then there were like a couple intros made that ultimately led to like us getting thrown into a group chat with Mark Andreessen, and like they sponsored the first AI Psychosis Summit. But it was like pretty organic. Like I think people often ask like, oh, to what extent is it organic and to what extent is it architected? And it's kind of like my standard answer for all of this type of thing is like you're just fucking around at first. Like everything is like in a way organic. I don't think I'm starting with like a super strategic brain for anything, and I don't really think like any of us really are. I don't know. I guess I don't know, but once you see that there's a potential and the traction for something to happen, then all of a sudden like you kind of flip the switch and start being strategic about like getting media to come and like,
and then you
sourcing
go like
funding,
double down,
like
triple down, all that.
Yeah.
I went at the end of the AI Psychosis Summit, and even that, because I heard the line like was out the door, like it was packed, the vibes were electric, and even then, like I remember seeing like your face, Matt. You're like, I can't believe, like you're like in like shock, but a good shock. You're shook, no pun intended.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, what do you have planned next for the AI Psychosis Summit? Do you have like another one in the works?
Yeah, we do. Macy, you want to talk about it? Or no?
I think we could
Can you
leave
give a little
it.
hint? A little hint?
Well, let's just say what we've already said publicly. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
You go for it.
Okay. So, AI Psychosis Summit 2 is called Summon the Egregore. And we had people apply, and we'll be selecting the artists and having the second Psychosis Summit soon. I think that's probably like all we'll really say for now.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
I think that's good, yeah.
Fair. Matt, I want to go to another quote from our last interview. By the way, banger interview. I watched it again. I'm like, oh man, like this is like a lot of great lines. But something you said is society has a value assignment problem. How do you assign a value to certain activities? You know, right now we use money as a proxy for social value, but that isn't the most efficient because we don't have enough information. And so you're trying to look for other things. And the big theme of yours, I feel like, with everything you're doing with like against privacy and your galleries there, is reducing information asymmetry. So can you talk about your philosophy of reducing information asymmetry, getting better proxies to assign value to things, and what being like your argument against privacy has to do with it?
Yeah. I think this is a really good framing. Like, I'm kind of glad that you put it this way, that you're saying like, oh, there's this value measurement problem, and so therefore we need privacy we need like kind of anti-privacy, because I think this is a link that people don't often identify. Is it's actually rooted in what I truly care about is assigning value. And so like something that I've been obsessed with recently is the idea of people fighting over attribution. So something can just happen that creates value, like say culturally, and the reality is that a lot of people played a role in making it happen. So like any of the things that we're talking about, like NoDi, AI Psychosis Summit, like all of these things, there are like tens, if not hundreds of people like directly involved in creating these things, and even more people who are influential to it in one way or another. And yet after it happens and the value has been created, there then come in all these people who were either at the center or on the periphery or wherever, and they're all kind of fighting to have some claim over like having caused the value to be created, the cultural value to be created. And it's almost like there's more effort spent like trying to vulture the creation process of the culture than there is like actual effort being made to create culture at all. And that's
it's
like
political.
a huge... Yeah, because people are just fighting for attribution instead of doing anything.
Fighting
and
for
there's
clout.
a reason they're doing that. Exactly. And it's because like it is literally easier, especially for a well-resourced person, to come in and find something that's already happening and try to claim credit for it than it is to actually make anything happen. So of course I understand why people do this, but if you think about it, it's a measurement problem. Like, it's because we lack the technology and we lack the methods to actually be able to attribute this cultural value to people. And so, like, this is a huge waste of energy by tons of people that would be resolved by, like, say in the extreme, a hyper surveillance of how exactly this like cultural moment occurred or how this business came to be. And right now, you know, we negotiate our way into equity splits and, you know, do all this like businessy stuff that brings in how much leverage does each party have and all this other like economic complication, when the reality of the situation is like, there is, in theory, some way that we could calculate who provided the value and then be able to reward people appropriately. So like a lot of my rhetoric, and I think like what I'm fixated on right now with my art projects like Against Privacy, which is a paper that I wrote for Tribeca Gallery to be displayed at Glow Gallery, and my other project, Social Surveillance, which was a surveillance project that I did at the gallery, which was kind of a derivative of the Against Privacy thing. It's all about privacy, but there are so many different like reasons that I want like people to be less concerned with privacy. And it's like, because I want people to be more connected to each other, because I want more openness, but also just because like I think it's an inevitability that technology is going to reveal things, and I think it's better to equip ourselves to be able to deal with that reveal than it is to try to stop it.
Can we go into that last point? You know, getting the tools to deal with that reveal instead of fighting it, because I feel like with everything coming out, especially with AI, I joke that AI is just, you know, democratizing Fedware. Everybody can have their own Fedware. And like, you know, there's a million different note-taking apps on calls now. You don't even know if someone's recording you or not. I guess like what tools can people have to deal with this, whether it's, you know, mental tools, emotional tools, actual AI tools? Like, what do you mean by that last point?
Well, I think when I think about being anti-privacy, what I'm really saying is that I don't think we should be private. I don't think we should stop information from being generated or collected. That's what I think privacy advocates are usually calling for. I'm concerned with the distribution of the information that's created from surveillance. So, like, people often imagine that there are two options. The first of which is like, when I use my phone, no one gets the data except for me. And so that's like pure privacy. Another option is like, when I use my phone, Twitter gets some of my data because I'm using Twitter, and Facebook gets some of my data, and Instagram gets some of my data, and they keep it and they sell it to advertisers, and, you know, I never see it, my friends never see it, whatever. I think the third ideal solution is that everyone has all data. And this allows people to not, like, for example, Instagram having your data, they can monetize it, and so they're incentivized to collect it. They're incentivized to use it against you. But if everyone has your data, then the competitive game right now the competitive game is, how do I gatekeep the information that I have from surveillance? What I want is for the game to be, everyone has this information. How do I provide value using that information to people? And so right now it's like you're spending all of this time protecting data. A good example of this, like protecting data that you have is, for example, a consulting firm will have proprietary data that they've bought somewhere, and a client wants that data, but they pay the consulting firm to give them insights or consulting, because then the consulting firm can get away with keeping the data proprietarily, like, you know, keeping it to themselves, and then giving out only these like summarized insights. So they're like holding on to what they have, but then also able to charge for a service. And this is just creating friction. It would be so much easier to just provide the client with the data and allow them to do with it what they want to do with it. So basically the idea is all this effort is being put into maintaining frictions, when really we should just admit to ourselves that the nature of information is that it is inherently transferable with almost no frictions, and that is the entire march of technology, is removing these frictions from the transfer of information. And so if we just adopt that premise and work from there, I think we're better equipped. We're kind of like getting a head start on what the world is going to look like, say, 10 years from now. Got it.
And so I think something important that you said there was it's about information that's created and generated. That should just be democratized and just dispersed to all, instead of just to like siloed in a few places proprietarily. When it comes to privacy, I think to me privacy means choosing what you reveal and choosing what you keep to yourself. So under like basically my definition of privacy, it's like I'm deciding not to reveal this information on any platform. I'm not deciding to share it with Twitter, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Like, Like, what are your thoughts on that? When it's like, I choose to not reveal at all. I'm keeping this to myself.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that some of the frameworks that I use to understand privacy and like the value of information would like lead me to the result that all information asymmetry is bad. But like from a practical perspective, it's like no one can be forced to reveal anything. And so I think like like in practice, of course, like a person is going to hold on to their own data, and like the fact of the matter is the more power you have, the more useful information is to you. So I'm not necessarily worried about distribution of information amongst like everyday people. Like sure, you can have your own information. What I'm actually more worried about, and something that I share with people who advocate for privacy, is that I'm worried about extreme information concentrations to like powerful entities. And so like when I'm
in asymmetries,
like I don't want like the core of what I'm saying is the government is going to have a bunch of data no matter what. Facebook is going to have a bunch of data no matter what. If they're going to have it, I should get it too. You should get it too. Macy should get it too. That's the point. Is like someone's going to have it, so we should try to create like policy and a market and an environment where we all have it. And I think you were asking like, oh, how can people, like what tools can people use to like democratize information? I think it's like a lot of it is just cultural. Like what are we okay with sharing? Like how do we shame people for sharing information? Like I think there are a lot of things culturally that need to change around like weaponizing and using information against each other and being more forgiving about like what we have on people and not being willing to use information as leverage.
Can you give an example of that?
Yeah, I mean, so right now, say someone might not want like this example is like kind of spicy, but I guess it's the most like obvious example is like you might have information about someone's like sexual activity that you could use to blackmail them. And there are two ways that you could see that. Like you could view that as, oh, someone's privacy was violated and now someone has information about them that they shouldn't have. The other way of viewing that is like, well, the reason that the information about their sexual activity is powerful is either because there is shame around that sexual activity, or because it never they were doing something that was genuinely immoral, for example, cheating on their partner. And so in that case, it's like either we need to eradicate the shame of the sexual behavior because in my personal view, it's unjustified, or it's just the case that the person did do something wrong and it's totally okay for that information to be public. And so like the problem, you could frame it in terms of privacy, but to frame it in terms of privacy is to ignore the real problem, which is either that we are using the information about that person's sexual activity against them in a way that's unjustified because we are fabricating shame that's, I guess, in my opinion, is unjustified, or it's like the real problem is just that they cheated on their partner. And like, if that's the truth, then like, so be it.
Yeah. I'm curious, you mentioned during your Against Privacy gallery, you did something like a social surveillance thing, like a experiment. What can you like go through that? And Quasi, I want you to go through it as the organizer, and Macy, I want you to go through it as the participant.
Okay.
Yeah, Macy's contributions to it were really amazing. I'll let her speak about them, but she had like the best contribution to that project. So the frame of the project was that I was showing my paper Against Privacy in a group show where a lot of the work was about surveillance. And at that gallery showing, at the opening of that gallery showing, I recruited like 6 to 10 people to basically surveil the room. So I was going around taking notes, Macy was going around taking notes, a few other people were going around taking notes, and we were collecting people's social media, recording details about them, recording our conversation, recording what they were wearing, what they were doing. And then at the end, I wrote a blog post that was in my like typical register that I use on my blog, that was just like revealing what happened at the event, and then also having some kind of like commentary at the end about, you know, how I felt about it, how it changed my opinions. And really, like, I think the conclusion that I came to is that I had all these hardline commitments about privacy and I was trying to make everything really formal. But when you think about privacy and information and vulnerability, like my mindset sort of shifted through the event from, oh, I'm thinking about this all at like a very tactical, like formulaic level, to more like, hey, I think what this is about, and the reason that I personally have a fixation on information sharing and things like that is because I want to feel seen by people and I want to feel connected to people. And so and this is a typical pattern, like for me, is that I'll take something that maybe most people would experience emotionally and route it through this like really intense recursive intellectualization. And so the piece social surveillance is kind of an unraveling of that tendency, and me like admitting to it and saying like, hey, this actually wasn't about what I said it was about, and maybe it's just about the fact that I want people to pay attention to me.
Beautifully said. Macy, your perspective.
Well, I quite liked. Well, here, let me clear my. I quite liked the. To take it back a little bit more, I think like I had this like sort of like fake perception of privacy because like I was around like a lot of crypto folk that were like super paranoid for like so many years, right? So like I wouldn't even like post my face online. I would never share any personal information, like all of this stuff. And I think that like meeting Matt and kind of like being a part of this like local posting environment, like tested that for me, where it's like, is that actually important to me, or is it just something that like I was around? And so I adopted just for the like sake of it. And so I think like this like kind of relationship with privacy has been like fun to explore, and like the event was like an interesting way to do that, especially because I kind of chose to fixate on people's clothes, because it's like that's something that I as like a woman like think about all the time. It's like I hate my outfit or whatever, and like nobody like is gonna look at your outfit and be like, that's ugly. I mean, maybe they would, but like it's like so personal to be like feeling comfortable in your outfit. And like a lot of I think a lot of people are like, oh, no one's gonna look at my shoes, or no one's gonna see the belt, it doesn't match the watch or whatever.
You're gonna make people real anxious, Macy. You're gonna make
like I kind of wanted to like play with that and to be like, like people thought they were just like showing up to a gallery, and so I like wrote down like everything, and like I went to school for fashion design, so I like got to go back in my brain and like pick out all like the different kind of fabrics and like treatments or whatever. And so it was quite fun, and it also felt like if you ever bored at a party, like just take notes, and it like gave you something to do, which was like an interesting like outcome that I was not expecting, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like meditative, because instead of being in your head thinking about the past or the future, you're like really in the moment, like, okay, what are people doing? What are people wearing?
Yeah.
What is the vibe? Is it electric? Is it not electric?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of what should I do, just like look at what are other people doing.
What other people are doing. Yeah, no, I haven't thought about privacy in this way before. And I think, Matt, you revealed at the end of the day what this is all about. It's all about being able to connect with people and to be seen, and not only for you to be seen, but everyone is seen at an equal level. It's so I hear you out. I feel like now that I understand it more after like watching our last interview and then asking you more about it here.
Yeah, it's funny because like I am kind of provoking. Like I don't necessarily like hold as hard of views on privacy as I might present, but I think there are just so many people who are pro privacy in a way that is not well thought through that I just like want to kind of counterbalance it. And so I'm kind of just like coming up with whatever arguments or frameworks I can to kind of like fight in the other direction, because I definitely like directionally think that people are too concerned about privacy generally, or like could stand to loosen like how much they care about it. So yeah, it's fun for me because I sometimes I'm saying things in this like provocateurish way, but really it's like I'm trying to figure it out too. Like
that's how you get people's attention anyway.
Yeah. Make the extreme claim and then like back off from it and be a little bit more reasonable. That's the standard pattern.
Yeah, the
that we all know and love.
Yeah.
The internet brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I think we're getting near the end of the interview. Guys, thank you so much. Can you guys reveal where the people can find you online? I mean, they know they can find you in NoDi, where the vibes are absolutely electric. Going to Luck and
yeah, that's the best place to find us. Yeah. It's just walk the streets of NoDi until you encounter us. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And if you're watching this, make sure you follow DeFi. I'm gonna start a Twitter, like a Twitter for the podcast itself. I realized I need a separate.
Oh, perfect.
So follow. I haven't even made the Twitter yet. Whatever the Twitter is, follow it. The DeFi Dave pod, whatever. Follow me, DeFi Dave. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Like, repost, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Guys, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Learned
Wait,
a lot.
can we do our shill moment really quick?
Yeah,
I didn't
sure.
actually.
Oh, yeah.
Besides NoDi, well, I'm Quasimatt everywhere.
Yeah.
Quasimatt.com is like the hub for all my stuff. But another thing I want to shout out is Macy and I are doing a talk at FWB Fest, which is the end of July into early August in Idlewild, California, and we're really excited about that. So if anyone wants more of whatever this was, maybe in a little bit of a more buttoned up format, then feel free to catch us there. We're excited to give that talk.
Yeah. Shout out FWB.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm Gettles on everything. Gettles.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Peace.
Dave.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya. Please stay on. I gotta stop
okay.
it. Yeah, I gotta upload it.